Oh, well, hello there. Thanks for joining me. I am Dr. Jen, and this is my life as a landlord. My guest today is a super savvy real estate investor from the East Coast of the United States, and we literally could talk about anything. Actually, just before we recorded, we were talking about everything, which is super fun. But let's get specific. We had talked about landlord pain points. And when you look at analytics of my show, you, the listeners, have spoken by what you are listening to. Specific on what you're listening again, what you're stopping at. There's all kinds of analytics. And so here's what you're listening to, listeners: tenant screening, marketing units properly, and after the fact permits. Pain points. So Tony Lopes from Dirty Boots Capital joins me today to talk about these pain points and many stories beyond that. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Jen. This is going to be a fun conversation. I love your energy. I love the topics. There's so much we're going to cover today, so I encourage the audience to, buckle in and have fun along with us, because there's going to be a lot of different information we're going to share here that's going to, just really be useful and valuable to you.
I love it. I love it. That's perfect. Okay, so for those of my listeners who are actually watching on YouTube at My Life as a Landlord, you can see that Tony has an accent. He's wearing a Boston hat. Are you in Boston, New Hampshire? Are you in Florida? Where are you today?
Well, I travel around quite a bit, and thank you for pointing out my Boston accent. Sometimes I forget I have one, but I am from the Boston area originally, born and
Love it.
raised. A lot
Love
of
it.
great friends back there, a lot of great culture back there. But I reside both in New Hampshire as well as Florida. We have investment properties in both places. We have investments out in Phoenix. We have over 400 units. So we've been doing this for a long time. I started, kind of like a mom and pop. I bought a triplex, a duplex, a quad, right? And again, I just want to speak to the audience. Like, I didn't get where I am with over 400 units because I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth or anything like that. My parents were very, very blue collar workers. Maybe like some of your listeners, some of your audience out there today. So yeah, I started very, very slowly as an investor with just a handful of units. And so I was a landlord first before I did any other larger syndication and partnerships and things like that. And I think that's an important thing for maybe your listeners to hear is, because maybe sometimes folks are like, maybe I should invest in a syndication or I should do a partnership or something. And that may be the right answer. I don't know. Every case is different. But for those that are looking to get into real estate, the best way to learn is by becoming a landlord. That's how I started. When you chat with some of the others that are out there that are doing, big deals, they're doing big deals today, but they too started by buying a condo and renting it out, or a two family and renting it out. They too, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. I go on some of these speaker circuits, and you meet some of these rock stars, and you're like, oh wow, you're doing, these multi-million deals. And they're like, yeah, I started with a condo, right? Right out of college, they bought a condo or something like that. So it starts somewhere, and usually it's very small. So don't hesitate, don't be afraid to, or think you have to go big, because you don't. So you just got to get started, get in the game with something.
Absolutely. You just got to start somewhere. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, I know you've been doing real estate investing a while, more than a few minutes with your 400 units, but you got to start with one. But let's talk about the comparison of today versus back when you started. There's probably a few differences, mainly, maybe a
Yeah.
smartphone or some other things. What are some of the differences that you see doing real estate investing then versus now?
Well, I'll point out two that are huge, huge for your audience to know about, and I'm sure they do know about it.
Sure.
But to have this perspective of, you mentioned like smartphones and technology. Wow, when I started 20 years ago, I did not have those tools. So I, if I had those back then, I would be much, much further along than where I am today, so to speak. Not that I'm dissatisfied with where I am. I'm perfectly happy with the achievements and whatnot. But I mean, those tools, that technology makes things so much easier. Not just like the Redfin apps and the Realtor.com apps and the things that alert you when a new property comes on the market, that meets your criteria. I mean, I didn't have that. Something as simple as that, to be amongst the first people to know when a multifamily or a condo comes on the market in a specific area that you're looking at, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, something like that, to be amongst the first to know is a huge advantage. I didn't have that 20 years ago. I had to go on to MLS when I got home from work after working my 9 to 5, or my 9 to 6, or my 9 to 7, whatever it happened to be that day. So I get it. I get what your audience is up against. It's not always convenient to go to MLS and always be doing these searches. So to have this technology like that to be able to help you, things like social media,
Mm,
Facebook groups. Facebook, I speak to it, kind of in a positive way, but also sometimes in a negative way, because I think there's a lot of folks who go onto Facebook and it's um, everything is Lambos and to the moon, and they want to project success and good for them. But there's they make it look too sexy and too instantaneous. And that's not really how real estate is. Real estate takes work, and it's not just put an offer in. Well, I guess first with finding a great property, putting an offer in, getting that offer accepted, closing on it, and having great tenants. It's not that clean, not that
no.
easy. It takes work, but it's absolutely doable. So sometimes these Facebook groups and these folks make it look super easy, which I don't subscribe to. Kind of lures people in with that sexiness. But on the other side of that, Facebook groups are hugely valuable if you are looking for additional education, looking for people in your area, right? Your area, say you're out of like Cincinnati or something, and you're looking for people who are, doing real estate, and you want to sit down for a cup of coffee or a drink or just a meetup of some sort. Wow, I didn't have that back then, to be able to meet up with people in my local area, to be able to learn from them. And so that's where technology is great. Social media is great. These are things that, you know, if you haven't embraced, I think you need to reevaluate, and you do need to embrace some of those technology type tools, because they are very valuable. And not for nothing, they're mostly free for the most part, which is great. So that's one thing that I think is different today versus 20 years ago. The other thing that you and I spoke about a little bit is just with tenants today, where we are with the marketing of things.
Mm,
And this is what we're seeing. Now, maybe there's some other pockets out there in your areas where this may not apply, but for us, this is what we're seeing with our rentals. Um, Dominating the crowd is women. Women are like 80% of the people we see coming to look for rentals, right? The other 20% comprised of like kind of like men and roommates. So 80%, high 70s, 80% is women all day long. They're the one who are clicking on the request a tour button. They are the one that are picking up the phone and calling. They are the ones that are coming to a showing, right? So that's a difference, huge difference between today and 20 years. 20 years ago, it was I won't say more dominated by males, but it was definitely more like a 50-50.
mhm.
Today, a huge difference. So when we post our ads, right, I get this question a lot, like, hey, Tony, I just bought my first rental. How do I advertise? Or how do I find a great tenant?
Right.
And I share with them, it starts with your ad, right?
Mm,
Your rental ad is where really speak to who you want and who you don't want. And so if you want people who have pets, say, pet friendly. If you are a landlord and you absolutely don't want pets, then put no pets, right?
right.
That's how you start to segregate the crowd and only get applicants that, are worth you looking at.
Right.
And so the same thing goes for now having the data. We have the data that shows 80% of the people calling are going to be women. We cater to that when we write our rental ads. We talk about closet space. We do talk about pet friendly because a lot of women, they are more pet owners than typically men. So they like to have a cat. They like to have a small dog, things like that. So we cater to that so they know that they feel welcomed. We talk about, dedicated parking spots for each one of our units so that they know they don't have to go looking for a spot in the parking lot. They have a dedicated spot. We talk about well lit, exteriors, right? So they feel safe when they come
Safe.
home late at night. We talk about washer dryer being in the unit as opposed to them having to go someplace or even go to like a community washer dryer in the community because women typically like to do laundry inside their unit. So
Mm.
men on the other case, men we're a bunch of dopes. I say that jokingly, but men just we don't care if the walkways are really well lit. We're probably not even looking
Right.
at that. We probably don't care if the unit has a washer dryer inside. We'll go use a community one. We don't really care.
Yeah.
We're just a different animal. And so knowing that 80% of the people applying or hitting that click button to request a tour are going to be women, we cater to that.
Yeah.
So that's a super important point. Like as you start writing your rental ads, you got to know who your audience is to be able to, get that unit rented quickly.
That's awesome. No, that's super helpful. And I think, as we progress more, there's going to be more topics that come up, and marketing your unit in general is something that I haven't put on the podcast yet. But I like where we're headed with this because simple wording, like you say, separate linen closet,
Yeah.
well lighted stairs. I mean, some of these are safety items in general, but some of them are, noteworthy for the intended audience, right? The women usually makes the decisions, if it's a well laid out kitchen or a bathroom that could make or break a unit, regardless of, the location and all the different other criteria. So that's true. I it's pretty interesting how the words in the ads matter, and same with pictures. There's when I watch looking at rental ad pictures, and they take a picture of the bathroom and the toilet seat is up, and I'm going, okay, women don't like that. They want to
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
toilet down, and that implies it's
Yeah.
clean,
Yeah.
refreshed, things like that, right? I mean, it's just really minor things, but it can make or break how long a unit sits empty, right? You
Yeah,
want to
and
know
it, and
who
it,
went.
it I mean this data it carries forward not just for knowing it for your ads when you create those ads, but also to carry forward when you do your showings.
Right.
If you're a typical guy like me and you don't resonate with your feminine side, so to speak, bring your girlfriend, right? Or bring
Yeah.
a friend or bring your wife, right? A female person over to your unit and say, hey, can you walk through this unit with me, and give me your perspective, right? Do
Right.
that before you open it up to showings. They will share stuff with you like, they'll be like, so this closet, like it's small. Why don't you put more
Yeah.
shelving in here
Right.
that will make it be more usable, right? Why don't you
Hmm.
put hooks on the back of the bathroom door so when they get in here, it's a small bathroom, they need a place to hang their towel, hang their robe. They're going to point out different things, that you may not have noticed, right?
Yeah. for sure.
Things like, cleanliness, wow, the stove doesn't really look as clean as it should be. You might want to give that another once over. Certain things they're going to notice, hey, gee, this kitchen isn't well lit. What do you got? 40-watt bulbs in there? Maybe you should put 60-watt bulbs or put some under cabinet lighting, right? They're going to notice different things that we men are going to miss.
Yeah.
And to be able to get that female perspective is huge because they're 80% of the crowd that's coming to look.
That's, I think that's really pivotal, knowing that that's the decision maker tends to be the woman of the house, tends to be. That's
Yeah.
pretty incredible. And definitely, again, a pain point that the listeners are listening for. That's a good thing. But let's talk about some of the other challenges that go on even in today's market, whether we're talking about real estate investing or landlording. Um, you and I talked a little bit about zoning. We talked about boundaries. We talked about some of the technical stuff that goes on in municipalities versus counties or regional districts, or however, like I'm in Canada right now, and so they have regional districts, not a county, but it's the same thing as in the
Yeah.
States. And so one of the biggest challenges can be, what is good for my parcel here doesn't work
Right.
for a parcel 2 blocks away because it's different. It's over some line. What kind of stuff are you seeing? I mean, you've got rental properties all over the place. Are you seeing this frustration as well?
Well, we're going through this on a couple of different properties. Actually, yeah, I'll give you three different scenarios. So we have one property that abuts another property that has, I don't know, like 20, 30 townhomes. And our property abuts it. It's zoned differently, but it abuts it. And
Hmm.
we have 5 units. And we have a lot of land that we want to put another 20 units on. We want to build another 20 units on this parcel. Right next door to us, there's a good example of how it looks and what we want to do. And because we're zoned differently, they won't allow us to do it. So, that's just a continuous. I don't want to say fight because I get the town in terms of, they have rules for these things, but we also want to provide affordable housing and options for folks. And that's
Right.
an issue today in every single town. I'm sure across Canada as well as the
Yep.
US,
Yep.
affordability is a problem. And so we're using this this point in time today where it's been heightened to such a degree to prove our point, to push our message of, you
Hmm.
know, let's go ahead and get the variance to go ahead and do this. So it's always just continuous conversations, building partnerships, right? You don't ever want to be on the wrong side of the fence. You want to build those partnerships, show them that you're doing good for the community, that you're doing good for people. You're not going to be building like a high-rise structure in a country environment where it's
No.
not going to fit the aesthetics, right?
Right.
So you want to be able to, and sometimes you got to put a little money into that. And we're doing that with architects and attorneys to be able to prove our point to say, hey, we're not in here just to, make it out of character. We're looking to be within the character of the town and of the city. So that's one example that we are working. There's another example where we want to build an additional structure of more units. And so I was just speaking with the fire marshal last week, and he was giving me the 10 reasons why it can't be done. Uh,
Of course.
where I look for the one reason why it can be done. And so as he was, ticking off the 10 reasons, I was trying to again just build that partnership and that working relationship to let him know that, hey, I'm not here to hurt anybody or make their job harder.
Right.
Um, I'm just trying to solve a problem, and looking for him to be an ally in solving that problem with me. So he can feel good that he's doing good for the community. I mean, he's a
Absolutely.
fire marshal. He got into being a firefighter because he wanted to help the community. And not for nothing. I'm not a firefighter. I'm not a police officer. But I am, so to speak, a civil servant in terms of I'm trying to provide affordable housing for
Yeah.
people. So help me do that.
Right.
I'm you. I'm on that same side of trying to help the community. So again, it takes partnerships, it takes those relationships, and then there's another property where we've maxed out our off-street parking for the
Oh,
building,
yeah.
and so we want to have the city allow us to do on-street parking.
Mm,
And there's many streets in the city that allow on-street parking overnight, but this
hmm.
particular area does not allow for that. Um, so again, it's just having those conversations and just keep pushing that rock forward.
Yeah.
And for those out there, like again, your listeners, your audience out there who may be hearing this and they're like, oh, I want to do some things, or I'm already doing some things to make my building, more either more units or whatever it may be, uh, know you're not alone, right? Know that,
Yeah.
right? We all go through this. It's not a slam dunk. It's not as easy as they make it look on Facebook, right? On some of these groups where they make it look so sexy. This is work day in and day out. People will say, oh, gee, some of these developers, they're making so much money. Let me tell you, I just spoke with a gentleman out in California. Took him 10 years and countless lawsuits to get his project approved.
Yeah. Now he's got to build it.
That's right. And it's not even built yet. And he
It's
has
not even
all
built.
this sunk cost into it. The same
Yep.
with me, as I'm looking to add more units, I have, tens of thousands of dollars invested, and I don't have anything out of it yet. It's just a
Right.
pipe dream before it gets approved. And not only just get approved by zoning, but also then it needs to go to the planning department to get the planning department to approve it. So there's these multiple stages. So again, for the audience, for the listeners, you're not alone. We're all in this together. This is just a process. You just got to go through it and just keep pushing that boulder forward. We get it.
I love it. I love it. Well, Tony, I tell you, there's so many different topics that we could talk about, and I'd love to have you back on the show.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
have you
do it.
back in after the new year, 2025. Get in past some of the snow, at least where you are. I won't have any snow where I am on Maui, but no, I'm super happy to have you on the show today. If a listener wants to get a hold of you, if they want to have a chat with you or learn a little bit more about some of the stuff you said today, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, the best way is just to shoot me an email. I check all my emails personally. So shoot me an email, Tony Lopes, Lopes, Tony Lopes at dirtybootscapital.com. And I'll get that and I'll respond back to them if they have any particular questions, about real estate in general or even macroeconomics. We haven't even gotten to the macroeconomics
I
of
know.
things. And a lot of it really starts there because we can't do what we do today without understanding the big picture, which is macro. So maybe that's something we can discuss next time, Jen, is the macro
Yeah,
piece.
I'd love it. You know what? I'll calendar that in the 2025. Let's do it. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, for all you listeners out there, whether you're on the US side or the Canadian side, thanks so much for listening, and check out dirtybootscapital.com. Love the name, by the way. Love it. Dirty Boots Capital. So that everybody can see the great things that Tony is doing all over the place. Thanks so much again, Tony, for joining me.
Thanks, Jen.
Talk soon. Hang on. Let me stop recording.